Well, we just got out of Morbius.
It's something. It is.
Morbius is absolutely miserable.
This movie is a disaster.
This movie is so chopped up, fastly paced.
This movie was pathetic.
That's a beautiful thing.
Because Morbius is great. It's good.
Morbius, the one film that has everybody collectively agreeing upon the fact that it is a bad movie. And I am one of those people. And I gotta say, I was not disappointed in the slightest. This film was incredible. It was a masterclass of cinema. This is one of the first movies where I laughed out loud in the theater because of how bad it was. Just the CGI alone makes this movie pretty bad, especially the vampire faces. Like in some of the scenes, they actually looked pretty good, but in a lot of the scenes, they looked really, really bad. Like I kid you not, in some of the scenes, they straight up looked like the vampires from Skyrim. Yes, it looked that bad. I mean, most of the CGI in this film was horrendous. There were times in this movie where you could hear the sound effects of blood, but there would be no blood visible on screen. Not only was the CGI and the special effects bad, the storyline was something out of an early 2000s superhero movie. The characters in this movie were absolute garbage. I did not care for a single person in this movie. Everyone is just lifeless and bland. So bland to the point that when two of the main characters died, I felt nothing. In fact, the second character death in this movie made me laugh. I'm sorry if you think that makes me heartless, but the character died in such a bizarre and crazy way that I just wasn't prepared for. I don't want to spoil it, but when you watch the movie, or actually you probably don't want to watch this movie, if you watch this movie at all in your lifetime, remember, the second character death is one of the most bizarre things I think I've ever seen in a movie. I just want to point out a few things that I noticed while I was in the theater. First of all, when Morbius and like his girlfriend character or whatever were in this cafe, there was this guy behind them. And I swear, he was legitimately fully CGI. Because every time they cut back to a shot in which he was in the background, he would always drink his coffee the same way, the same animation every single time. And it happened like 7 or 10 times. It was like every 2 seconds he would set down his coffee cup and then pick it right back up a second later. That's not how a human drinks coffee, by the way. If you've ever drank coffee, you would know that you don't set it down on the table and then immediately pick it back up. And if you don't believe me, go drink some coffee right now and you'll realize you don't do that. There isn't really much to like about this movie, except for the two detective guys, which honestly I would have liked to have seen more of in the movie because they were probably the best part of it. But they also took part in making this movie seem bad. At one point when they're interrogating someone in this movie, they say, "We would like you to share some light." Now I don't know about you, but where I come from, usually we say, "We would like you to shed some light." I just wanted to point that out because it's just such an easily fixable thing in a movie and somehow it just got put into the final cut, which is bizarre. I mean, really throughout this movie, you can just feel that nobody cared about the editing or the effects for this movie. Like, it is so obvious while watching it. But hey, I am not necessarily complaining because it gave me one of the greatest movie theater experiences of my life. You know, I was laughing. The 3 other people in the theater walked out as soon as it was done. Like, the screen hadn't even faded to black and most of the people in the theater were already walking out. My friend fell asleep at the beginning of the movie. Here's a pic for proof. You can't really see very well, but just know it happened. It was that boring. Yes, it was that boring. But other than that, though, I had a good time in Morbius. It was enjoyable. I liked it. I mean, I liked it in a different way, but it was still enjoyable nonetheless. And I'm glad I experienced it. Honestly, it was worth it. You know, I saw a lot of people on Twitter talking about how bad of a movie it was and saying that they actually had a good time because they just ended up laughing at it. And if you come into the movie knowing that it's going to be pretty bad, it is a very funny movie. And I mean, when you have a movie that was originally going to be rated R and it had to be edited down to PG-13, you know it's going to be bad. There's just no question about it. So yeah, I would say you should go see it. It's pretty fun. You know, you get to be a part of something kind of like of culture right now where everybody's going to go see this movie just to talk about how bad it is. And honestly, I hope they make a sequel. That'd be fantastic. I'd go to see it. That's not actually true. I probably won't. In all seriousness, I don't think they're gonna make a sequel because it seems like nobody has gone to see this movie. And the people who have seen this movie are just making the movie such a joke. So whenever you hear the word Morbius now, you're gonna think of the movie back in 2022 that everybody was making fun of, which you will see a lot of in our next segment, Morbius memes.
Hi! Fubuki Shirakawa, nice to meet you.
Wow, it's so nice to meet you. You have a wonderful voice. I hope that you sing some music sometime too. You sound great.
The memes for this movie are just amazing. They are truly works of art. Theater employee to the one person who went to see Morbius. Yes, you're finally awake. That was legitimately my friend. He fell asleep, and then I woke him up, and I was like, hey, the movie's over. Search Morbius Theater. Empty. Yes. I like how we're using a lot of Skyrim memes to describe Morbius. This is beautiful. Let's fight somewhere empty. Yes. Oh, that's amazing. This is probably the greatest way I've seen someone describe Morbius. Morbius wasn't even that bad. It just needed better acting, casting, plot, directing, characters, effects, lighting, scenes, structure, soundtrack, and editing. It would have been great other than that. Which is true. I mean, the movie had a lot of cool ideas and it had a lot of potential, but it was all executed just so poorly. And while I was watching it, I couldn't help but think that this movie felt like a movie that you watched during 2020 when most of the theaters were shut down and there was like no movies coming out. Like, you know, one of those obscure movies like Monster Hunter or something like that. Morbius felt kind of like that, but it was way better on every level. Morbius is humanity's masterpiece. And I honestly kind of feel bad for some of the people that worked on Morbius because there probably were some people that were pretty passionate about it. At least I think so. It kind of feels like there was no one passionate about it, but I have a feeling there was. And I feel bad for the people who cared about this movie because the studio just did not do a good job of getting people to go see this movie. The marketing was just so bad. And I'm about to show you it in our next segment called, you guessed it, marketing.
Best I can.
The marketing team for this movie was on some new type of crack, man. They were so desperate to get people to go see this movie, but just couldn't figure out how. You'll see exactly what I'm saying with all these ads I'm about to show you. Which, by the way, I'm only showing TikTok ads because they're the only ones I saw. Like, they were also on YouTube, but they weren't widescreen. They just took TikTok ads and put them on YouTube. So that was interesting.
Fun facts about Morbius. He is a Marvel legend. He's super fit.
Pilates helps.
He needs to consume blood to live.
Who the hell are you, man? I am Venom.
He is not Venom.
I'm just kidding. It's Dr. Michael Morbius at your service.
Morbius, exclusively in movie theaters April 1st.
They start off this ad with saying, fun facts about Morbius. He is a Marvel legend. If you have to tell people that the character you're trying to show them is a Marvel legend, that he's not a Marvel legend, because you should just know that if he is a Marvel legend. It's just such a sad commercial. Something about those TikTok ads, man. When you use the voiceover lady for your ad for a movie, it makes your movie feel so, like, cheap and low budget. I mean, I get why the companies do it. It's because they're trying to, like, appeal to Gen Z or whatever, but I'm sorry, there's just nothing appealing about this ad at all. Now take a look at this next ad where they try to be even more relatable by having Morbius play Wordle. Yes, you heard me right. They made Morbius play Wordle. I'm not kidding.
Can I show you something? I need your help.
You should change that.
I can't. I don't understand.
Is anything ringing a bell?
What am I actually doing? You've never made one like this before. This was our last chance. Success, Martine. We did it.
It's just so cringy to watch this, man. It's so forced and so, like... Who came up with this? Like, what is this marketing strategy? Just like, oh yeah, let's just insert Wordle into the scene. People will be lining up to buy tickets because of this. I can't even believe that they even decided to release this movie. Because they delayed it so long, you know? It's like, why don't you just delay it some more and maybe make an actually good movie? Instead, they just decided to release it and just basically beg people to go see it. I mean, I went to go see it, but like, I'm one of the few, you know? Against the many.
I understood that reference.
And only the people who went to go see Morbius will know what that reference is. So if you want to be a part of cool references about Morbius, make sure to go see the movie. It was absolutely incredible. I had a fantastic time. My friend had a great nap there as well, you know. It was great. Great film. 10 out of 10, would recommend. Anyways, Morbius is just bizarre. Everything about it is bizarre. The movie's bizarre, the advertising's bizarre, the hate around it's bizarre. Everything's bizarre. It's a great movie. Go watch it now. It'll change your life. Anyways, that's really all I wanted to talk about. See ya.